morning, good morning, good morning. Or I should say afternoon on the East Coast. It's still 10 o'clock today, or 10:30, I should say, over here on the West Coast. Hope y'all had a good weekend and enjoyed Sunday football, including Sunday night football. So without further ado, let's get right to it. The Bengals and the Jets. All right, so I was pretty adamant in my last scene that the Jets might not even win a game this year. I was thinking, like, there's no way they're going to beat the Bengals after Flacco found his little resurgence since being traded. You know, he's got Jamar Chase, Higgins, all those people to throw to, and he actually didn't do too bad. But the Jets, they came through. 248 passing yards, 254 rushing yards. You know, the crazy owner, Woody Johnson, talking trash about Justin Fields. You know, it's like such a joke. You know, the New York Jets, that organization has been a joke, just like the Cleveland Browns. You know, why is the owner running his mouth talking bad about their quarterback? Like, stay out the way, make decisions behind the scenes, and let the coaches handle it. And Justin Fields said he was crying in his closet, sad all week, going through it, you know, because he really cares about the game. Even though the owner is a little bit correct, Justin Fields, your play's been horrible, but the owner needs to stay out of it. Just let him do what he does, you know, and let them figure it out. Obviously, they're going to move on for him after this year as their quarterback. I get it, but he had a good game, and now they're not winless anymore. They're 1-7, and the Bengals are just pretty much unpredictable. You don't know, like, I thought after last week that, you know, Flacco could do enough to bring the Bengals, give them some type of wins before Burrow comes back, and it's just a mess. But it really wasn't Flacco's fault. You know, he performed pretty well. Let's see his stats. You know, he threw for 3 touchdowns and had a 1-yard score rushing. So, just the Jets came on top. You know, Fields, he was 21 for 32, 244 yards, a touchdown. Breeze Hall added 2 touchdowns and even threw it for a touchdown pass on the 5-yard line or the 4-yard line. They just all came together. So I was glad that they got one win, but, you know, both these teams probably aren't going to go anywhere. You know, it is what it is. So another upset. What we're starting to see here, let's talk about the Falcons first. Oh, okay, let's go through the numbers. 34-10. 24 first downs for the Dolphins, 11 for the Falcons. 197 passing yards to the 168 passing yards. 141 rushing yards to 45 for the Falcons, which that is kind of a huge problem because Bijan Robinson has been the pulse of the team, his run game. He's been doing excellent the past few weeks, and to hold him under 45, that kind of, I guess, paved the way for the Dolphins to do what they do. And they focused on him to take him out. They weren't even worried about Cousins. So with Bijan Robinson not doing anything, now you got Kirk Cousins. He should have stepped it up. He didn't do anything, and that's how you know that this is Penix's team right now. Kirk Cousins is a solid quarterback, but he just, maybe because his first game back, but he just didn't do anything when they took the running game out of the picture. And also, it's just the Dolphins. They just pretty much, you know, they did what they had to do. Cousins only did 173, 0 touchdowns. Tua did 4 touchdowns with no turnovers. I don't expect that to happen on a weekly basis. I still think McDaniels is out of there. Obviously, they can't get rid of Tua, but I just feel like, you know, this was a good game. They had a good game. So after that, it is what it is. All right. So, but, you know, maybe the Falcons, they could finish a little bit above 500, go to the playoffs if they can get Bijan going again and do that. But at the end of the day, the Dolphins, they're headed nowhere. But it was good to see like what they can do with their potential, because, I think Waddle even said he has full confidence in his quarterback, which you're supposed to, as a receiver. But I don't have confidence in Tua or McDaniels. So, but it was a good win for them, So, all right. Now we got the Bears and everything. This is a third upset. I need to delete my last stream, man. I was adamant that the Bears would wash the Ravens, I just felt like without their quarterback, they have nothing. Their defense is already terrible, and that's what I thought was going to be was going to dictate the games. So the Chicago Bears offense walking all over the dead last Ravens defense. That's what I expected to happen. However, Chicago, coming from a 4-game win streak, just goes and pretty much has a poor offensive performance. Only 16 points against the worst defense in the league. So they're still a young team. They got a lot of growing to do, but I feel like they could still be a playoff team. They just had a bad game, and the Ravens, they showed out. Derrick Henry scored 2 touchdowns, which, as I said before, you need to rely on him now that Lamar Jackson is out. Tyler Huntley, he's always been a solid backup. 186 yards, 1 touchdown. So he did what he had to do. Did he get one on the ground? Nope. But he also got 53 yards rushing. Henry 71, of course, with his pair of TDs. They just showed up to play. I still think the Bears are a better team, but they can't be inconsistent if they want to make a playoff run. But hey, they had a 4-game win streak. They're 4-3 right now. They'll be all right. They'll be fine. So the Ravens, I don't know. It's still early, but they're 2-5. Huntley's going to have to win more. We don't even know when Lamar's going to come back. They're up in the air, but I don't see them going to the playoffs. So there's that. All right. This one wasn't a surprise. This was one of the games I got right. The Bills just completely washed the Panthers, 9-40. 23 first downs to 19, 165 passing yards to 130, 245 rushing yards, which was the deal breaker, and the turnovers by the Panthers, having 3 turnovers. The Panthers are a young team. They're 4-4. They did better than what everyone else thought they were going to do. Obviously, every team's goal is to get to the championship, but I don't think the Panthers are expecting a deep playoff run. They're probably just happy that they're winning games. And this was expected. Josh Allen threw for a touchdown. He ran for 2 touchdowns. James Cook, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns. Remember, Cook had the most touchdowns last year, tied with Derrick Henry. When Derrick Henry was, I guess, the rushing champion, Cook was right next to him. So if they get going, they get going. And if Buffalo can hold teams under 3 scores, they are going straight to the Super Bowl, or at least the AFC Championship to face the Chiefs, who I think is the best team in the league. But Buffalo's defense has always been their Achilles heel. If they can keep their opponents under 3 scores, the Allen and Cook combo on offense is just too much. It is too much, especially with Allen leading it, because you don't know if he's going to run it, throw it. And then if he throws it, he just has Cook to run it, who's probably the best running back in the league, him and Henry. So their offense is too powerful. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with the Chiefs, in my opinion. So if they get their defense to be respectable, look forward to a really, really tight AFC showdown in the AFC Championship, like how it's always been. So, yep, easy win. Panthers shouldn't hold their heads down. They'll be all right. All right. San Francisco versus Houston. Same with San Fran. I feel like with all the injuries they have, I don't think they're expecting to make a deep playoff run. Yes, they're 5-3. Yes, they have a solid quarterback who I think is better than Brock Purdy, even though they gave Purdy all that money. I think they should stick with Mac Jones. He even had a decent game today, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 193 yards passing. You know, he wasn't bad. He's been consistent. A couple of those passes, I seen him like thread the needle like perfectly, you know, like a true first round quarterback. So, I kicked the camera. So I think, you know, this is Mac Jones' team. They just had a bad game, and Houston finally, you know, they played a little hungry. You know, like I mentioned in the last live, they need to turn things around. I don't see them making a playoff run, but they have to be respectable, especially with their quarterback, very talented quarterback. They lost Nico Collins, their main receiver, and he still showed up big. CJ Stroud, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, only 1 interception. The most yardage he's put up all year, which is weird coming from him because he is a big-time quarterback, but he hasn't found his stride since having that excellent first season. So Houston has a lot to work on. And I feel like San Fran, they're just pretty much surviving, you know, even though they're winning, they're 5-3. They lost this game. They're managing it. They could go to the playoffs, but they're not going to make a run unless they have their core with Mac Jones still at the quarterback. I think this is Mac Jones' team. That's just my opinion. So, you know, it is what it is. They'll shake it off. You know, I feel like they'll definitely be way over 500, but Houston has a lot of work to do. So this was a good win. You know, let's go through the numbers real quick. Yep. 26-15, 23 first downs to San Fran's 12, 318 passing yards to 175, 157 rushing yards to only 48. And that's the thing. San Fran relies heavily on McCaffrey. He had a monster week last week, only to pretty much be shut down by the Texans defense this week. And you see what happens when everything's not perfect for the 49ers. Mac Jones did okay, but they couldn't move the ball at all for pretty much the whole first half. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. We'll see how far these 49ers can go. They're still surprising everyone, but, you know, they just had a bad game. So, oh, boy. The Eagles and the Giants. Prayers for Cam Skattebo. He had a gruesome injury. But the Eagles, what did they do? They found a way to win. Jackson Dart is excellent, obviously. He's a great, dynamic, entertaining rookie. Skattebo, he got hurt. He's dynamic. But Philly is just, they're just winners. They're just winners. They win by any means necessary. Let me see. Let me pull up these numbers here. I just feel like if you'd asked me in the beginning of the season, I thought it would have been an easy win, right? Then seeing how the Giants played, I thought it was going to be more of a difficult win, but I ended up being right in the long run. Eagles pretty much, you know, plowed them, ran through them. So Hurts, he did what he had to do. He made the throws he needed to make as usual. 276 rushing yards, and here is the key. Saquon Barkley finally came alive. As great as Jalen Hurts is, this team will go as far as Barkley and the defense takes them. Just like the Bills, if they can hold teams to less than 3 touchdowns or 3 scores, and they get some offense going, they'll be good. And Jalen Hurts threw 4 touchdown passes. But guess what? In my opinion, even though he threw 4 touchdown passes, he was able to do so because Barkley finally got it going. And I mean, look, only 179 yards passing for Hurts. But hey, listen, I'm not trying to take away from his quarterback rating was, or his rating in general was 141.5. I mean, he had a wonderful game, but I feel like it all came through Barkley. 150 yards rushing, 1 touchdown. Also, Bigsby, another 104 yards rushing. They dominated through the ground, you know, and their defense did what they had to do to contain Skattebo and Dart. Obviously, prayers for Skattebo, as I said. But Eagles finding a way to win like the true champions they are. And I feel like games like these are going to slowly separate them from the pack in the NFC. I still think Rams are the most complete team, but the Eagles, they're the champions. And I would not be surprised if they're back in the NFC Championship game or even back in the Super Bowl. who knows? There might be a third matchup with the Chiefs and the Eagles. Who knows? But the Eagles are showing that they are true champions and they're going to consistently win, even though it might not be what we expect them to be. But this is pretty much standard Eagles football. Dominate on the ground, hold the team down on offense. I mean, the defense holds the other offense to under 3 scores, and then, they win the game. So, hopefully the Giants will figure it out. Again, they're a young team, and as I said, I don't see them going to the playoffs, but they definitely have a lot to build on, and for a few years to come, they'll be really good. Oh boy, this one I called perfectly. I specifically said Myles Garrett can cause some problems, but at the end of the day, the Patriots are an overall better team. Myles Garrett had 5 sacks in one game. That's crazy. He literally had 5 sacks. But the Patriots, they did what they had to do. In my opinion, okay. I don't think they're better than the Bills and the Chiefs, obviously. But they are making their claim as an AFC powerhouse. They are going to be with the Colts, battling it out. I mean, they are doing so well, and they bounce back and look at the numbers: 32-13, 23 first downs, 245 passing yards, 177 rushing yards. They did have 2 turnovers, but they are a well-balanced team. And the Browns are the Browns. They suck at everything. So what do you expect from them? I just thought that Myles Garrett, which he did make an impact, but it wasn't enough to stop these people from scoring. Drake May threw 3 touchdown passes, and he even ran for 50 on the ground. And then, Henderson was a leading rusher by 75 yards. But at the end of the day, this was all May, and also the Pats defense that contained the sorry Browns offense, with Dillon Gabriel not doing much, rushing not doing much, turning the ball over. This was just a game for the Pats to sharpen their iron. So, easy call for them. Let's see where they are in their division. They're at top of the AFC East. The Patriots are top of the AFC East. So, great team. They're doing good. I feel like they got to get through the Colts, the Chiefs, the Bills, but this is going to be a very crowded AFC. The playoffs are going to be very entertaining. All right. Then we got the Bucks. They kind of had an off game, but it was an easy win versus the Saints. The Saints got 4 turnovers. Rattler, they had 227 passing yards, but I think, how many interceptions did he throw? Let me see. Well, he only threw 1. He only threw 1 interception. Let me see. I wasn't able to catch that game. But, because we kind of already expected, the Saints to lose, especially after the Bucks coming off of that heartbreaking loss by the Lions. So, I wasn't really checking for that, but they came back, even though they did kind of play sloppy. I would definitely keep an eye on them, because if they have more games like this where they're not putting up numbers like they usually do, they're not going to get past the Eagles, the Rams, maybe even the Bears, or even the Cowboys, which we're going to talk about next. They had another epic collapse. And then the Packers, which I can't wait to talk about the Packers, man. I guess the early season predictions of them being the most complete team, it's almost like now we're in the middle of the season and they are really coming out in true fashion. So the NFC is crowded too, and Bucks need to kind of tighten up a little bit, So, 152 yards, 0 touchdowns. Tucker did good. He 42 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown. I kind of thought they would do better against the Saints, but it is what it is. Hey, they got to win, but they definitely need to kind of step it up a little bit. They can't have multiple weeks of having off games. They could afford it against the Saints, but obviously that didn't work against the Lions. So, the key is I guess with every NFL team, not just to be in the mix, they want to make deep playoff runs and win a championship. So, and I know Mayfield is super competitive. They'll figure it out. But they got a lot of obstacles. So, all right. And the Cowgirls. The Cowboys. Where do we start? Their defense looked exactly how we expected it to look. The Broncos completely ran all over them. And I'm like, why did y'all have to play good defense against my Commanders? Why couldn't this defense show up? Why couldn't this defense show up? I mean, Broncos pretty much just ran through them, you know. Bo Nix, he's a winner. Bottom line, he's a winner. He threw 4 touchdown passes, 247 yards, only 1 interception. I mean, they're just too good. And then you got Mr. Dak, Mr. MVP, who I've said multiple times is an MVP frontrunner. 188 yards and 2 interceptions. Now, Denver's defense is really good. We understand that. But if you want to be the MVP, you got to do good against good defenses as well. And this is typical Cowboys fashion. When they face a tough team or a challenge, they completely tank. 188 passing yards with 2 interceptions. I mean, come on, Dak. What are you doing? What are you doing? So, but we got nothing bad to say against Denver. 179 rushing yards, 247 passing yards, 25 first downs, and of course the final score, 44 points. They're another AFC powerhouse rolling through. I put them in the tiers, the Colts and the Patriots, of really good teams trying to match the greatness of teams like the Chiefs and the Bills, and of course the healthy Ravens, which obviously they're out of the picture this year. But will we see one of these AFC teams, the Bills, and I'm sorry, the Broncos, the Patriots, the Colts? Will we see them scratch the surface to be able to get to that top tier with the Chiefs and the Bills? I mean, of course, anything can happen. Injuries could happen, and they can find themselves in the Super Bowl. But I'd be surprised if the Denver Broncos make it to the AFC Championship game, as good as they are, because it's just too crowded. But, you know, that remains to be seen. Speaking of those type of teams, we got the Colts. Easy money. I didn't really follow this game either. 38-14. Everything is expected. 256 passing yards. 164 rushing yards, 0 turnovers. Daniel Jones is another MVP frontrunner. I mean, they're just playing lights out, and it's like we're waiting for them to look like an average team, because I still can't process. I mean, not to take any away from them, but like they are just playing like a Super Bowl contender week after week. 7-1, tied for the best record in the league. Or probably the best record in the league. Daniel Jones, 272 yards, 3 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions. Jonathan Taylor, another 150 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns. That 1-2 combo, with also their defense doing what it has to do. I mean, how long are they going to carry this? Like, I'm waiting for them to be exposed. But hey, don't want to jinx them. Keep it going. I would like to see them and the Patriots and the Broncos see how far they can go. You know, this is excellent. I still won't say they're better than the Bills and the Chiefs, but I mean, their record and their numbers show it that they are technically. But we'll see what happens when they face them head on. You know, numbers don't lie, but they don't tell the whole story. So, shout out to the Colts. Congratulations. And Tennessee, they're doing what they're doing. You know, they'll figure it out, but just a bad team overall. You know, Cam Ward had an okay game. 250 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, you know, got sacked 4 times, you know, but he did all right. He's getting better, but yeah, the Titans are done. Remember the Titans. No, I'm playing. And the last one, and in my opinion, the best game, this is the Green Bay Packers coming out party. Yesterday, they looked like the powerhouse Super Bowl team that we expected. That's what I said in the beginning of the year. They kind of didn't prove it lately. They always looked like they were skinning by. But yesterday, they showed out. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have the highest paid defense. The highest paid defense, right? And they couldn't do anything. So 360-yard passes for Jordan Love. I think he had like the most completions in a row since probably they said the stat. I didn't write it down, but like he had like almost like 24 straight completions. I mean, he completely annihilated Pittsburgh's defense. And I hear some whispers about Tomlin saying they're tired of it, but that's a tricky situation. Are you going to fire a consistent playoff coach that you know probably isn't going to get over the hump, but always take the team to the playoffs and take a chance to get a coach to take them to the Super Bowl? How many Super Bowl winning quote unquote coaches will be out there that can do a better job than Tomlin? But I know people are getting tired of this because when it comes to face a real contender, they fold. And guess what? They're still 4-3. They're still top of their division. They got an easy division. I mean, the Browns are done in their division. I mean, like, they have a really easy division. They can win 3 more games and probably still float in the playoffs. But when they face the real teams, they buckle. And I know people are tired of that with Mike Tomlin. So they got to figure it out. This is the best year for them to figure everything out just because their division is so terrible. But they got to do it fast because Jordan Love and the Pack destroyed them. I mean, Tucker Kraft had 143 yards reception, 2 touchdowns. You know, their rushing game was pretty modest. Emmanuel Wilson and Josh Jacobs one had 61 yards, the other had 33 yards. And Aaron Rodgers, are we at that point now where we'll be happy if he didn't do bad? I mean, he showed up 80%. I feel like, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He didn't have a bad game. It's just that their defense is the issue. They put a lot of money in their defense, and they thought that Aaron Rodgers could just get them by with a good defense. And Aaron Rodgers had a get them by game, but their defense gave up 35 points, 360 passing yards, almost 100 yards on the ground. So it's going to be an interesting season to see how people react to Tomlin. I know the Rooneys don't really fire their coaches like that, but I mean, enough's enough. When are the Steelers going to stop being a mid-playoff team and take it back to the Super Bowl, But I'll still stick with my original pick in the beginning of the year, Green Bay Packers versus the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And if the Packers played like they did last night, I think they will beat the Eagles. I think they will beat the Lions. They will beat any other contender, but they have to be consistent. So we'll see what happens with that. But that was a great game. All right. I think that's all for today. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'll see if I can squeeze in a Monday night recap tomorrow. Tonight. If not, definitely tomorrow. Hopefully y'all have a good week. Happy Monday. And see y'all later. Let's see.